Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
Drangru, low, low, low.
And folks, monthly tournament coverage happening here on Orsha East. What's going on, sir, today? Who's here?
Left hand side in the blue, Rio Stan playing as Gross Deutschland or a Maverick Income. And on the right hand side, we have an Espresso coming to hot for a flatline income with 6 South African armored.
I'm actually kind of excited to see more South African, and it's not because they have the M10 grouse, even though I think it's probably one of the funniest, names for a bird, other than like a sapsucker. But, up against Gross Deutschland, I don't know. I feel like Gross Deutschland is one of those things that somehow ends up being the underdog in whatever matchup they have, and I don't know how that always works.
Yeah, they're not that great of a Panther division compared to others. I mean, they have okay tanks, got a lot of heavy stuff, of course. But usually just the other ones are a little bit more reliable, is the best way to put it. And then, of course, with 6 South African, you have a lot of armor, and pretty scary armor of the Fireflies and 17-pounders for an allied armored division. So they can go toe-to-toe with these more heavier duty Axis tanks.
And that's kind of the question, isn't it? Is trying to make sure those heavy tanks over here for the Germans aren't going to go and cause too many issues, really, for those South Africans. But I suppose that Gross Deutschland, you do have to watch out for their Sturmgruppe.
Oh yeah, they are quite deadly. But at the same time, the Assault Pioneers and honestly a lot of South African infantrymen get into a very good position so far on the hill, pretty much forcing that half-track blob to stop for the time being. I don't know how long Espresso will be able to hold that position, because it's really just like, well, the Sherman and the Grouse. And there's a lot of angry German firepower bunched up here.
Is certainly true. Now, don't expect the Nobel Falcon to do anything more than just be a very, very ironic death, which I think should be happening pretty soon. But I always love seeing that guy on the map.
Yeah, it's using it quite aggressively. It's always a little bit dangerous. Just it is a good unit up close. Just the lack of AP means it really does not have an answer against tanks. It's not like War Thunder, anti-aircraft units can consistently blow up tanks.
That is certainly true. But I'm sure we'll find it kind of meeting an ugly end over here before too much longer.
Mm-hmm.
But, if he dies, the Pack 40 is still there.
Yeah, he has a good amount of backup. The Sherman's also doing a great job of just holding the line, and the Pack 40 is in a very good spot at least to slow down reinforcements as it can shoot right down the road here. But so far, pretty good positioning from Espresso up north. He's also pushing quite hard as well, using all those CQC troops to great effect. But we've got the same group of reinforcements being brought on in.
Yeah, and kind of that half-track that we don't generally see very often with that 15 mil HE on top of it, that pack track is actually really, really quite scary when you unpack it.
Yeah, it's the old SC-44 and of all the naval machine guns on top. I believe an SD-44 is more of a dedicated anti-aircraft unit, while here it's, an anti-infantry unit. Because when you have 3 machine guns shooting at someone, it's not exactly a pleasant experience.
Yeah, with the 50mm shells as well, I imagine that's not particularly kind to anybody you shoot at. You do have to love the Sherman Recce that's up here, and the Czech tank saying, I'll take a tab, and unfortunately his bill gets paid by another Czech.
You could say checked out.
Yes, he certainly did check out. His last check bounced.
Oh.
But not the shot. The shot went straight through, but everything else bounced. But bad jokes aside, the Pioneers are actually retreating, which is kind of surprising. And then I realized that there's tons and tons of Pioneers and more Sturmgruppe rushing on forwards.
Yeah, Espresso is very good early, aggressive forces with the Assault Pioneers and regular Pioneers and all that stuff. Problem is, British and Commonwealth CQC troops, I should really be saying, just don't have the same power, especially compared to Gross Deutschland with the Pioneers and some groups backed up with the leaders. They can really hold their own. There's also the Recce Sherman in the forest, so it's really going to come up to that Panzerschreck to lob that Schreck into the enemy Panzer.
Yeah, because the Sturmgruppe is, well, he's dead now. But there's another Panzerfaust coming up behind it, but crossing that open territory there, it's 120 meters to death. I don't think it's going to happen very easily.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. And this is always the funny thing about this northern forest fights. You do have that light forest area, and as you can see, if you can just bring in a lot of machine gun, or in this case tank firepower, you can just shut down pushes.
Well, like you said, 20 meters.
Gets the hit.
He certainly does.
Yeah. And just looking down south here, it's honestly been pretty quiet. We do actually have a Tiger deployed here down south, just nearby the hill.
Well, there's a second one as well, kind of sliding its way down
Oh.
south a little bit here, but
It's heavy
regardless,
investment.
it is a heavy investment. But you have to think about it though too, that Stan doesn't really have the advantage here. So maybe he's trying to play gutsy, thinking, you know what, if I boost in a lot of material now, I have a crazy benefit in next phase. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of medium tanks available. It got that one card of Panther 4Hs, and that's about it. So it's really going to come down to the Tigers. I think it's going to be difficult to use them in this sort of matchup, because South Africa with all 17-pounder guns is pretty much well-versed with blowing up big, scary German catch. At the same time, we also have some 205mm batteries being brought on in from Stan, so he's investing a lot of heavy equipment, a little bit detriment to his front line. At the same time, Stan isn't pushing all that hard, and he kind of needs to be with his income. I mean, Espresso, sorry.
No, hey, you know what? I think a little bit of a pick-me-up either way would be great for either side.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. But you talk about heavy equipment, but that's why it's Großdeutschland as opposed to Kleindeutschland, which is a very, very different divisional setup. That's all rifle fire more than anything else. But with the 105s, I mean, they're looking to... Wait, oops. Yeah, looking to engage that town in the middle. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you want to pound it to bits and then probably get some infantry reinforcements to try and clear that out.
Also, the Dreivierige up north is engaged in the Spitfire. Doesn't want to do a whole lot, but like you said, when you have triple machine guns firing at you, not a pleasant experience.
No. And slowly but surely, Stan is winning his forest fight, knocking out that Sherman. Pretty much allowed him to get that all-important infantry advantage. And that should be a pretty easy hold now. We just need to get that Pak 40, which is being deployed up north, set up on the hillside. And as we see in most matches, it's pretty easy just to zone out the far north.
True. True. There is one half-track at this point, and finally, at long last, that's actually finally a 13-11. Up until now, it's still a 12-12, courtesy of that stuff in the middle. But we're seeing right now the 105s slowly churning away at that infantry. Might actually, you know, with a timeline, it's actually a pretty good timeline for him.
Yeah, and Stan slowly but surely getting that +1. And now, you know, he's really starting to get this offensive advantage, stopping all the assault pioneers rushing early on here. If he can make a good push into the center, you know, nice amount of infantry. Oh, his 105s are getting counter-batteried a bit. He probably his best bet come B phase to try to break the map.
It was kind of the funny thing behind, so I was looking at this, I was like, wait a second, there's stuff going out. How is that happening? And I forgot, oh yeah, exactly, the Grouse does go and actually have indirect fire.
Yeah. Only the South Africans figured out you could point guns upwards.
There's so many comments to make that I cannot make, or else this will be demonetized. But the Tiger in the center is being aggressive here, and while the 105s are suppressed, he is not. And I imagine, yeah, that Sherman Command's backing up very, very wisely. But a cheeky half-track, yes, sir.
No, just he's not wanting to tangle with that. You're also seeing our first Firefly and 17-pounder being brought on out into the center here, so he is aware of that Tiger threat. And these 17-pounders, I mean, just how bloody deadly anti-tank guns can be in Steel Division 2. Based on this hill, because you can just kind of put it in the, like, south of the town strip, and I believe, no, he's putting it north of the town strip.
Well, he doesn't need to, because the Piat was right once a day and took him out. That is...
Oh.
That's a big, big loss.
That's kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing. Sometimes you see a giant cat like that get declawed by a dude basically hand-throwing a grenade.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a Firefly down south as well, and while he picked on a P-38T, so again, a lot of the heavier German equipment getting taken out by kind of the crazy things, and the super light German equipment getting taken out by the kind of anti-tank material. So, curious trade-off here. Very curious trade-off.
I think Stan really seems to invest in more of the, you know, the lighter stuff, more of those Panzer 38Ts, more infantry. He doesn't really have a lot of substance on this front line, which is really going to bugger him up, as we're seeing. Espresso has a lot of infantry all over the north, or not north, the central, and kind of now into the southern side. It's not the best infantry, of course, so the Piats are actually doing their job, but it's enough to buy him time, and all Espresso needs to do is buy time with his income. He makes it to sea phase. It's not going to be a crazy income advantage, but it's a pretty good one.
Well, right now he's in the dog days of this entire match, of course. For the next 9 minutes and 40 seconds here, Dan does have himself a deliciously kind of egregious income difference.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, though, is that he's been very, very carefree with the way that he's kind of given some of his equipment away. That Tiger, for example, does come to mind.
Yeah, it's always risky deploying Tiger in the center because there's so many areas for it to get blapped, and you're really not getting that much advantage using a Tiger in the center compared to a Panzer IV. Like, both are just really out of infantry support, and both can reasonably kill Shermans at his close quarters engagement. It's really like up north, for example, or really far down south is where you can utilize the range and armor of a Tiger.
That's true, but let's also acknowledge that down south there's a Panzerschreck and a Tiger that the Panzerschreck came up, the Tiger tanked, and the Panzerschreck took out a Firefly and the Grouse.
Damn.
Tiger did nothing. He just sat there and got shot. But
he's going to take all the credit.
Of course he is. Of course he is. You know, and the Panzerschreck's going to give him all of that credit too. Why? Click on him. You'll find out he's a Christian. It's back to a 12-12 though. Half track in the kind of north central position went down over here for Espresso, and Stan, like we said, he's building forces up. But if you take a look at the center, he actually has more than enough fire support happening now. There's he needs nothing else here.
Yeah, just the heavy artillery is doing its work as slowly but surely pounding the infantry. Same in the mobile wagon as well, showing its absolute deadly anti-infantry support. And he is making progress here. There is still the M10 Grouse, the Sherman, as well as another Sherman being brought in. But Stan does have a good opportunity to try and break through the center. It's going to be a grind, it's not going to be a blitzkrieg, but he needs to try to get out +2 now.
That is very, very true. Now, Sturmpine, so he's calling in the right infantry at least. It's going to go and pick things up. It's back to a 12-12. Down south, I think we probably just lost the tank. The tank is still alive. It looks like he will continue to be alive for the time being. But the center is going very, very slowly blue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing we haven't seen a lot out of this is air power, and that's basically because if you look at Großdeutschland, well, air power is not really their middle name. It's not really their last name. It's not really their confirmation name. It's just not really part of them for right now. Panzerschreck, by the way, steals another kill, takes out a Sherman. So already that Christian has paid for himself tons and tons of times over. Clearly, his place in heaven is assured.
Yeah, yeah. Deus Vo all of that, right?
Exactly. But it looks like he's going to get picked up by this half-track. You bully. All he did is kill 3 tanks.
Oh, the Tiger going to move up a bit too forward. Rifles Piat misses the first shot. He's going to get a lot of it stand up. The machine guns is firing all over. And the Tiger is going to be able to save himself with just, the application of lots of firepower. By firepower, I mean MG-34 machine guns firing 8mm Mauser.
That's certainly a kind of firepower, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Pretty effective one.
Looking back to the center, the 17-pounder that's right there picks up on a half-track. So while we are seeing consistent killiness over here from both sides, this push is broken down. But it's done exactly what it needed to, which is freak out Espresso enough that it calls for a couple more shots in the center, which is a Sherman 5, a 2A, another 2A, and, well, yeah, this 114mm, I think is... Oh, no, he's aiming for the 105s. Interesting decision there.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a Panther being brought up. I think Stan's going to run into the issue once again of not having enough medium tank spam to effectively fight in this CQC engagement, because there's a Sherman 5, a Sherman 2, a Firefly, or so can... Especially the Firefly, and I believe the Sherman 2A, because I see 76mm run, can deal with the Panther at this sort of engagement. At the same time, Stan's kind of running out of that infantry. He doesn't have a whole lot of it. Almost half compared to Espresso in terms of just raw numbers. But he needs these dudes on the front line tanking those shots, so, he can actually gain bloody territory. Infantry win wars.
That's true. Now, there was one thing I was going to kind of go in and put the asterisk on that over, and that is, if you do look at Espresso's infantry, though, congratulations. Ooh, Sherman 2A proving what you said correct down south, taking out that Tiger. But the idea behind it, though, too, if you look at the infantry, yes, infantry, C phase, a lot of that kind of benefit over there, a lot of that great oomph on top of for the South Africans as opposed to Stan, 27 rifle squads. So, yes, the Piats can be deadly in the rifle's Piat, but a rifle squad does not, I would argue, an aggressive unit make.
No, it's just here to hold territory, take shots, and buy time. But for a 20-point squad, it should do that job rather nicely and die in place to allow all the, 2 C-phase cards of 1 Sherman 2 and 1 Firefly to deal quite well, I'd say, with any heavy tanks coming out from Stan.
That is certainly fair. Down south, Tiger Fuhrer with a couple of P4s, putting out very effective fire, and allowing actually some Gross Deutschland Pigrens to move forward. Now, as a reminder, folks, of course, these Pigrens, they do not have anywhere near the same kind of delicious firepower that Sturmgruppe have. No. But when you have, 2 medium tanks and a Tiger backing you up, you're in pretty good shape. And you can see right now, geez, 17-7. Out of nowhere, wow. The north is all blue.
Wow, yeah, he just managed to really gain a nice advantage here. Northern position, or as well the central position, is starting to seem a bit tentative. There we go. Panther just loses out in raw numbers in that firefight, and this is going to be a very great time for Espresso to make a counterattack happen in the center. But now for Stan, he's making something happen down south. It might actually be best for him to try to hook around down south, secure the open field, and then just hook around the far southern side to pick up a couple flags.
There's not a whole lot down there to really kind of stop him. Congratulations, a half-track and a couple motorized rifles with their own Piats. But against 2 P4s and the Tiger, statistically, they shouldn't all die, right?
Yeah, and the Tigers and Panthers have a much better chance in this sort of engagement. Or really only... Okay. Yeah, only 1 Panther and he got blapped in this sort of large open field engagement. But he needs for this to work. He needs to buy some infantry and hook him far down south to try to clear out, the few infantry and bicker teams which are in the area in the defense.
Let's take a quick look over at the artillery park for Stan. 1105 is down, but the Hummel is there, which is a unique decision. And, I'm actually kind of fascinated by the pack tracks moving forward, basically a P4 turret on the back.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to those.
They're gonna have some fun.
Exactly, and that's kind of what you're looking for here. Is you're looking for kind of that craziness. Kind of the same craziness that Mobile Falcon is kind of using here. Unfortunately for him, he's engaging the wrong rifle squad. The other one's getting nice and close.
And that 1 Stern Pioneer of the Flamethrower, he's going to have to do his best to provide some... what's it called? Begleet? The bloody Stug Troops. They have the fancy name like Begleet Grenadiers?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
He's going to have to do a bit of Begleet for the Mobile Wagon.
German Descendniki, basically.
Yes. You're falling, but from a tank, so it's only like a meter or 2.
I forgot that 2-inch carrier is both recon and a mortar position. Here we go. This is cheeky. Not gonna do a whole lot.
Run.
Well, I'm sorry, I got confused. Also distracted by the 6-pounder that's down south, and another 2 6-pounders. So, if the P4s die, it's because there's a crossfire due to the 6-pounders. Now, one of them is pinned down. The other one apparently is quite useless, and I think we're seeing that vague sense of let's go around the right that you were referring to, sir.
Yeah, and I'm liking this quite a lot. It's really going to come down to whether the Tiger can win these important tank engagements. I mean, we've got a 17-pounder now being deployed far south. The Sherman 2A, very good crit, shooter knocked out. And Tiger's going to have a hard time. And Espresso just has such a good application of force here. It's not the craziest force, but just a bunch of infantry to push on up with a little bit of fire support. It's going to win, and the Tiger loses.
That's true, but let's also acknowledge that there's 2 Pack 40s in the middle that had turned every single attacking tank into a charnel house of fire and just smoking meat.
Oh, wow. That's a good counterattack. Oh, I'd say that's a good counterattack, like luring in those Shermans into the Pack 40s, because this is gonna give Stan the momentum once again to push center.
But at long last, since the Mobile Falcon is dead, one Pack 40 is going to get bombed out of existence. And it's still enough. It's still enough.
Oh god, Tiger Fuhrer coming all the way down south here. I'm surprised he actually brought this first rather than bind some infantry to actually help lead the charge. But I guess he got a one Panther Grenadier unit in the half track. Maybe that will just be his covering fire.
Oh, the Befehler Tigers in the center, which is, I think, a really, really good decision. Of course, my mind's just enraptured by the central position here. Because the last Sherman 2A is dead. I mean, yeah, exactly. But even more so, I mean, the 17-pounder, that's the only real anti-tank that's left. It's 15-9. And, yeah, so much of Espresso's troops have been turned into just, like, ridiculous dog meat.
Yeah, Espresso's probably best bet is to try to hook around the southern side of the hill, try to put some firepower down south into the farm, and then maybe from that position as well try to put some anti-tank guns to hit up north, because you could probably shoot your Panzer IVs from the sides if he was to get a 6-pounder in that position. He has a good position to really hit into the sides basically of Stan. He just hasn't been able to utilize that, because if he's fighting head on, as you've seen, he's losing.
Well, now he's been forced to kind of bring drip and drab resources all over the place. He's not been able to really kind of concentrate the forces as he needs to. Your go around the right kind of idea for Stan, he's going to unmask this Vickers. The Vickers are going to get taken out by the tank. And yes, there is a 17-pounder there. Yes, there's a Sherman 2A moving up and all of that. But frankly, Stan should pick up just the flag and say, fine, come to me, bro.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be very good geography for him to defend. If he can get a Pack 40 down south, that should be a pretty easy area to hold.
He should have at least a couple left. If nothing else, he can bring in Martyrs as well. So that's... He's got options.
The Tiger Fuhrer is gonna take a bit of fire here. Both the 17-pounder and the Sherman 2A. And yeah, that was most likely going to happen.
Yeah, it does not surprise. But hey, he did what he needed to do, which was allow the Pigren to get over that open field. And the Vickers is not even shooting, for some reason, at that Pigren. So, still 16-8.
Yeah, a lot of Stan's heavy tanks have just been getting big blap throughout the match. But it hasn't really been that much of an issue for him, because their sacrifice is allowing him to take the necessary territory. I mean, like you said, he's got the 16-8. He's pretty much cleared out the center completely. I mean, a few Panzer IVs, and as well as the 9D half tracks. They're playing 9D chess, obviously, of just providing enough fire support.
Certainly true that there's a Sherman 2A coming on the flank as they take out both these P4s almost for sure. No, I was completely wrong. And Espresso taps, which actually, you know what? I think that's fair.
Yeah, it was very back and forth. Like, Espresso, especially towards the 10-15 minute mark, was doing really good, but Stan just managed to trade back after a little bit of pushback.
Now, we already know that Christian over here is going to be just absolute god among men. No pun intended. Let's see what the South Africans really have. I mean, we have a Sherman Recce who's got a couple of kills. And the 17-pounder who did, that Tiger Fuhrer, but South Africans don't really have a lot to their name.
No, really nothing all that crazy.
But yes, the most brutal man here, Christian, 20 points, taking out several hundred by himself.
Good for him.
Exactly. I feel like he's almost responsible for the entire spread. But, yeah, really well done over here.
Yeah. There's also that pioneer, Fonins, who knocked out many other assault pioneers in counterance. I believe as a dude up north. So, really going to show just a little bit of quality infantry, because Grossdeutschland does have some quality. Can actually pay off, and I think it's just all the cheap, eventually all the cheap fire support, and artillery as well, because he had those 105s and eventually the Hummel just pounding South African positions.
Yeah, unfortunately, just the Grouses were not able to... Well, they weren't able to hunt from their particular blinds really as effectively as they needed to. So you're absolutely
Indeed.
correct, though. Indeed. Unless you have anything further to add, sir, I think that's about time for us.
Yep, sounds good.
Well, folks, until next time then, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangru, take it easy.